everyone. This is Bev from Art by Bedell. I had some requests for, you'd like to see these papers that I have made with my pressed flowers, handmade papers after they were dry. So this stack is all dry and it's been processed. It's been pressed in the flower press to make them flat. And I thought I'd show you some of the flaws and things that I did wrong and how I corrected it and how I got to the point where at the end I was making some pretty decent papers. So this paper is just scraps of paper, and I've ripped them up into like a little 1-inch squares, and I put them in a blender, liquefied it, poured that into a tote, and then I had a form that's actually Arnold Grummers kit that I use for paper making. I found it at, actually my sister-in-law found it for me at a thrift shop for 10 bucks. That was a steal. Those things are well over $100. But anyhow, I used that and put my pulp in that mold, and then of course did the process of getting rid of all the extra water, and I put my flowers on. And here is the first ones I did, and the first ones I did were my creeping phlox. Well, I made my pulp, I put it in my mold, and then I put my phlox on top with my paper and my string on top, only to discover that it wasn't going to stick. The flowers wanted to fall off. And this one I got a little thin. I could have put this back through and redone it again, but I can use this for some collage. Anyhow, so what I did to fix this, because my flowers, my string, and my paper were not sticking, I took some tissue paper after it was dry. I covered the whole thing with some PVA glue, put a piece of tissue paper on it, and another layer of PVA glue, which then encased everything into it. But that's where you're going to see a lot of the wrinkles from the tissue paper, which is fine. It gives us some nice texture. So that solved that problem on the first batch of paper. And here's another one. I mean, they turned out beautiful. They're still beautiful. They've got, the flowers are so pretty, and I like the string in here and the dictionary print in here. And then I also had to play with, as you see, this one has some holes in it. So I had to play with the thickness of the paper and getting just the right amount of pulp into the mold that I had so that I got the right thickness. So this one, for me, is a little too heavy, and as is this one. Now, they're certainly going to be great for pockets or whatever in your journal because they'll be really stable. But I did end up getting down to the thickness that I wanted. It's a matter of kind of just eyeing it up, because once it's wet and it's in there with all that water and stuff, it's really hard to tell whether you've got enough pulp in there or not. But the more you do it, the more you realize just how much you have to have in there. So you have to play with it. But these were all, and this is lilacs on this one. And again, I was still at that point doing the same thing. I did a whole batch this way. And so this one is really textured with a tissue paper on top too. But to me, I still really like it. You can see the flowers on the back side too. They're browner on the back side, but these are lilacs on this one and this one. This is a really nice weight of this one. I really like this one. It's just probably, there's copy paper, I think that's 28 pound. That's a little heavier than your regular run-of-the-mill copy paper. And this is just a little heavier than that. So whatever weight that would be, I don't know. So the lilacs were just picked right off my bush. I just took the lilac bloom and I just pulled off the little pieces and put it on the paper. And I thought they turned out real nice. This one does not have the tissue on it, so you can see the color with it better. It's so pretty. They're just really pretty. So that's our lilac one. You see the flowers, so pretty. And I've made quite a few of those actually. And this one got all crumpled up, and what I'll do is I'll just cut these in pieces and use them as collage, and then I'll end up taking this piece probably and putting it back through. And Okay, so here we have, those were all fresh flowers. The creeping phlox and the lilac I had just taken right out of my garden and put in the mill and made my paper with. These are pressed flowers, azaleas that I had pressed last year with ferns that I had pressed last year. So at this point, I'm realizing that my flowers are not going to just stick to the paper by laying them on top of the pulp. What I had to do was I had to take, like these ferns, you'll see there's a little bit of, I hope you can see, a little bit of pulp on top of it. So I took my fern and I dipped it down in the bath that had the pulp in it. And when it came up out of it, it had pulp sticking to the top. And then I laid it on my paper, which gives it a layer of pulp, a very thin layer. And same with the flowers. So you can see they're sticking really well. And that was a lesson learned for me. Here we go again with some more of the azaleas. This one kind of went off the side. It'll just pull off like this. I like the decal edge on these papers. I think that's really interesting. The ferns were really turned out nice too. I like the azaleas and the ferns together. Now, on this paper, I have, again, these are all pressed flowers that I had done last year. This is just some wildflowers that I had and a grass maybe or whatever. Not quite sure where this color came from, but I did have some spray inks out and about, so I must have just gotten some color on here, but it looks pretty cool. And this paper also is a really nice weight. And here, I probably don't have quite enough pulp on it. So what I'm going to do, and you can see that this paper is coming up a little bit here. I really don't want to put tissue paper over it. So what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to just take some PVA glue and just give it a coat right over top of this to glue it down. And then I don't have to have the tissue paper clouding it all up. But this is a really, again, nice weight of paper. This has quite a bit of pulp that these flowers picked up when I dunked them down in the bath, and I like that. This must have came from some paper that I didn't quite have all the way liquefied, and it got some nice color in it, and I like that. I just like that randomness of it. I don't know what these flowers are. I cannot remember what they are. But you look, you can see them a little bit through the back side of it too. These are some Japanese iris that I had pressed last year. And again, they have plenty of pulp on them. You can see the different color strings that I put in here. These, and this got crinkled up too. What happened with the crinkling up is I had put them out on the deck to get dry in the sun, and the wind blew them off onto the deck and they got crinkled. But again, that's okay. We'll either just take that and reuse it, or we're just going to leave the texture on there. We'll see. So that's real pretty. These are from some bushes I have out front of my house, spirea bushes from last year, of course. And again, there's some more color coming through on this. And this is Queen Anne's lace. And I was worried that maybe this needed some glue on it too, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to be coming up or anything. I don't want to like poke at it too much, but I think it has enough pulp on it that this will be fine. And then here we have some clover. And again, I will take this and I will add some of the PVA glue because you can see it's sticking up a little bit here. Some more clover, which is on the paper quite good. It's got some nice layer of pulp on that there. Then we just have some ferns with some dictionary paper. Now the ferns have all turned out really nice. I don't feel that there's probably anything that needs done to them. Look at the back of them too. I mean, how pretty is that? So different from the front, but how pretty is that? So then I just did some overall ferns, just kind of randomly putting them on the paper. I did quite a bit of ferns because I had a lot of ferns. Then I just took the whole stem of the fern and dipped that down in, and it picked up some nice pulp to use as a layer. This paper is just like perfect right here. The weight is nice. The ferns are covered. The paper's covered. We've got a nice print on the back. It's just perfect. So, like, I'll just kind of run through these ferns, but they turned out really nice. I got the weight down of the paper. I should show you this. Look at the back of that. So pretty. I got the weight down. I got the pulp over top of it. Everything's together, looking so good. At this point, I felt like I really had a handle on on getting what I wanted to get as far as results from my handmade paper. Really, really pretty there. Then I decided, I got out some sprays and I thought, let's add a little bit of color to this. So I used some Distress Oxide inks. I used 3 colors. I used peeled paint and tumbled glass and fossilized amber. And I just gave them a really light mist because I didn't want it dark. But and then I just kind of placed my ferns where I wanted them. And I thought these made pretty papers too. And I think this would be nice also to do with some watercolors. And then I decided to do the corners, and I really liked the corner. I really liked the way this ink splattered. I was just like really, really happy with these. So I ended up doing a lot with the ferns in the corners. By the time you take this and fold it and make a page for your journal, I mean, really, really nice, guys. And the backs of these, the color shows, but the ferns are not showing through onto the back. I guess they did here. Pretty blues. Just really, really turned out. I was pleased. I was very, very pleased how this all turned out. Well, like I say, I did a lot with these. Then I was up picking up my grandson where he was up mowing somebody's lawn, and they had a magnolia out in their yard, and the blossoms were falling down on the ground. So I said to the man, I said, can I have your blossoms that are on the ground? And he said, sure. So I went and picked them up, and I brought them home, and I took the blossoms and I put them in the blender with my little squares of paper, and I blended them up, and I got this paper. Now the weight of this paper is light. It's absolutely perfect. And the texture, oh my gosh. And this is magnolias. And I just put a handful of the flower with the leaves right into the blender. And I really, really like this too. So I got several sheets of that. I had put my paper in the blender first, and I got that all mulched up. And then I put a handful of flowers in, and I didn't leave the flowers in the blender very long. Just long enough to, I didn't want them all chopped up. I wanted some of this texture to be so, so pretty. So there's our, now, this is, I was low on pulp. I only had a little bit of pulp left. And so I picked a couple. My granddaughter graduated from college, and she got some mini roses. And the petal, they were dried out. They were, going the other way. And I asked her if I could have them. She told me I could have them. So I just threw a couple on here. I have a whole bunch of them. They weren't pressed yet, so I needed to press them. But I just put these ones on here. So that's not sticking. Anyhow, this was just kind of a practice sheet. I just wanted to see what they look like. They look real pretty on the back side too. The color came right through on the back side. Again, just some leftover pulp and some leftover paper I had it torn up. And so I put it all together and got that piece of paper. Then I thought, oh my gosh, I want to try adding a piece of ledger paper and with my leftover pulp that I had. And so I took a piece of, let me just get my mold and show you what the mold looks like. So this is the mold. This is the Arnold Grummer mold. And what you do is on the bottom, you're going to take this screen and put it on top. And then you're going to take this drain here, put that on top, take your Velcro, bring it around and Velcro it. Then you're going to put this in your tote that has the water in it and pour your amount of pulp in here that you want. Well, I didn't have a lot of pulp, as I was saying, but I wanted to make something. So I took a piece of ledger paper. I have my pulp in here now, and I put my ledger paper down into the pulp, and then I poured more pulp on top of it, and it stuck. It's just, I'm like, okay, that's really, really cool. I like that. And so then I did it again with another piece. Ends up I had more pulp than I thought I had, but I did it again with another piece, and look at this. Oh my gosh, that'll make a beautiful page in a journal. And it just is really, really nice. So I want to play more with doing things like that too. And then this is just leftovers. This was the end of it. I had one more dried flower. I had pulled out this tissue paper and decided that's not me. It is pretty, it's not me. So I'll use it somewhere for something. But that is my results of my paper pressing, paper making with pressed flowers and fresh flowers actually. And I thought I would just jump on here and give you a flip through of what my papers turned out like. Now, on these fern ones, let's see, the ones that are in the corner, I'm thinking, I'm just going to show you just one thing that I was thinking, but wouldn't it be so cool? And I'm going to show you, I have a script stamp here. And you're going to want to use some waterproof permanent ink. You can use some India ink, archival ink. Let's see, there's some brown Ranger. Let's try that and see how that turns out. And I'm thinking, what if we take this, I don't want my stamping to be upside down, and add a little stamping on top. Now, guys, I hadn't done this yet, so let's see. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. See how that just really, I love that. I love that. I love that. So I'm thinking, you know, we can take our papers and we can jazz them up. And how about doing, I just really, really like that. How about doing some embossing on it? Now, the embossing is going to take a little bit longer than normal paper because this does have texture. It does, you know, it's going to take a little bit more work, but I think it'll work and I think it'll be beautiful. But look at that. Yeah, we can do more to these papers than just use them as they are. Nothing wrong with using them as they are, but we can jazz them up and make them look pretty cool for a nice page in our journal. I'm loving it, guys. All right, well, thanks for following along with me on my paper processing journey here, and I have more to do. I have those roses that I want to do. I want to continue this through the summer as different flowers start blooming and put them on and see what I can get so that next fall and next winter I have all these really pretty papers that we can play with our ferns, and I have a flower press going now that has a whole bunch of flowers, lilacs and different things in it that I'm pressing. The lilacs are taking quite a while. They're full of moisture and they're taking a while. I'm hoping that they'll press without turning moldy. We'll see. Anyhow, thanks for watching, guys, and we shall see you again soon. You have a great day. Bye now.